When?
Okay. Okay, let's call the June 24, 2013 Finance Advisory Audit Committee meeting to order. Can we have a roll call?
Yes, Chair Chu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ryan,
Yes.
Committee Member Ken Johnson, absent. Committee Member Miller,
Here.
Committee Member Standish.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Cheryl, do we have a second? Second by Virginia. Any question? Discussion?
The only discussion I have is that I need to let you know I have to make a correction in my statement to the town council. When I presented our information last town council meeting, I believe I had said that it would be reduced by 200,000. I meant to say it was being estimated that it'd be reduced by 20,000 and likely would be discontinued in the amount of 136,000 would eventually go away. So I will correct that at the next town council presentation.
But nothing on, change on the minute.
No, but I just,
Okay.
since that was in there, I wanted to make you aware I misspoke.
Okay. Cheryl, do you have any comments?
The only thing I see is on page 8 of 119, shouldn't that be collecting Canal Road instead of collection?
Yeah.
They like to
We're collecting a canal, huh?
Well, and there is on page 5 also. Page 5, the third paragraph, end of the very last sentence, may eventually disappear.
Oh, evenly.
Where is it?
Evenly, even.
I think the right word is evenly, don't you?
Well, we hope it goes away evenly, but it'll eventually be gone.
Yes.
And then on page 8,
Yes.
the third paragraph from the bottom, with respect, with an S.
Any other clarification? The only comment I have is on page 8 of 150, the last paragraph there. The chair should advise that if management is not sure of the priority, that it should check with the town council. Are we sure, or are we doing that, or what?
It is, it's in their capital improvement plan, and whenever they take a vote, then we'll know. They have to approve the plan as it's structured. So I haven't heard anything to the contrary at the present time.
Well, to comment on that, at this last town council meeting, they did bring up, I believe, for future discussion, they're actually, Mr. Jarrell, as town councilman Jarrell, was focusing on a traffic light for Southern Boulevard and D Road, which I was surprised to hear, so.
That'll be a new capital.
Yeah, so.
Any other modifications? Okay. Call the question. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
I didn't have a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was approval of the agenda, not approval of the minutes.
I would make a motion that the minutes be approved.
Okay.
A second?
Okay, motion by Elise, second by Virginia. So that we will make clarification with the changes. Okay.
Yes,
I should have said as amended.
It's amended,
Yeah.
okay.
I did.
Okay. All those
You
in
put that
favor?
in there. Okay, thanks, Carl.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next item, old business, do we need to discuss it, or do we have an update? Mr. Manager?
Well, let's discuss A for a second.
Okay. Cost recovery.
Cost recovery fee matters. As you know, we have you've been asking us to take a look at revising the code and the ordinance related to cost recovery. And we are prepared to do that, but there are a couple of issues that I wanted to bring to your attention from the last council meeting. We had a situation with a pool at the corner of Collecting Canal and Sea Road, resident Bianca Burko. And council wanted very much to assist her. The issue in a nutshell was basically she could not meet her setback requirement, and our ULDC adopted a setback requirement that was a little more stringent than what the county requires for pools previously in that area, in that previous zoning category. And I just wanted the FAAC to know that the staff did its part in terms of trying to recommend and hold council to ensuring that we use cost recovery. However, council's final decision was we're going to have the town eat it and go ahead and take care of the amendment. I replied I wasn't happy because I said the town doesn't eat that, the management company ends up eating that in terms of doing that project under our planning and zoning requirements. So that occurred earlier in the evening, and if you ever watched the tape, I don't think I could have been any stronger in terms of advising them that in the past, this board has talked about the fact that we should make sure that we uphold the cost recovery system, and we try to do that. And then later on in the meeting, another citizen in the town, Bill Klein, who's had an issue with the sale of guns, came back up, and town council again basically pretty much directed the staff to go back to an older ordinance, the one that has been kicked around in terms of hay sales through the Ikes and the historical legacy, and it kind of touches on a number of those issues, but it appears that he is not going to be charged cost recovery for staff going back and revisiting these ordinances and whatever else we're directed to do as time progresses. So I tell you this because I think that you want to know for your, it may be where at some point the FAAC is going to have to, either take a position or make a statement to council that, you need to, in terms of the cost recovery program, we need to apply it across the board. If you start to give certain individuals or certain parties favors, as Mr. Underwood had indicated to you and advised you several meetings ago, it harms the integrity, the overall integrity of the cost recovery program. So I'm just bringing that to your attention. It makes us somewhat reluctant to go in and make changes if we're not going to follow cost recovery to the letter of the ordinance.
Any comments?
Well, go ahead.
Well, I witnessed Mark, I was there and I witnessed Mark strongly insisting on cost recovery because he knew he'd have to come here, first of all.
Yeah.
That was, I think, his first concern. Then he'd have to see Mr. Underwood. So that was A and B. As far as just the integrity of cost recovery, I think it also affects the integrity of the town also. It's not just the integrity of cost recovery. As we'll be talking about later tonight, there's some issues, that's a serious inconsistent issue.
Liz?
Well, I certainly agree that I don't agree with just arbitrarily, waiving fees. We need to be consistent. That's my opinion. We should be consistent. You said the management company has to eat that. Why does the management company have to eat it? Why wouldn't the council pay for it?
Well, because we're having to work on it on our time as opposed to town time. We have a whole list of projects, and you have another one that hasn't been programmed.
Well, then you just have to move another one out of the way, right? And
Well,
you've got too many
it's gonna go to the back is what it's gonna do. And in fact, this woman's contractor came in like 2 days after council with the plans. And we kind of indicated, well, okay, you know, I just want you to know these plans may sit here for a while because we have higher priority projects.
Oh.
That's why you have the cost recovery system. If you wanted to get pulled quickly, that's the, you know, that's the way to do it.
My other comment would be, is this a matter for legal? You know, to weigh in on, I mean, if we're setting precedents by,
Well, legal was there. I mean,
I had this opportunity.
I think legal will be very happy to hear that they get additional work. I don't think they really care from professional standpoint. The more controversial things, the better off for them because they have more cases to handle. They have more chargeable hours, billing hours. I think that's the nature of the business. They're here to protect us as well as the firms. Sure.
No, I agree with Virginia. We can't keep making, you know, well, no, only this person and only that person, maybe it applies to all, no.
I think that I look at this from the policy standpoint. They have the policy set. They do have the right to ban their own policy. But this is done in a public manner, public forum, so they do have their authority. Whether or not the constituents like it, and then they have to prove it during the election. I would suggest that when we submit the agenda or board report for the town council for approval, I would add something in the agenda on the report to say the fiscal impact to the town because of this action. It's not cost neutral right now. We have to eat certain expenses. That means you and I, we all have to pay. I would suggest put a fiscal impact on it. How much additional cost that we have to pay because of the council's decision. So let them, I mean, they have the right to do that. They have the right to direct you. They have the right not to listen to the advisory group. So I guess the only thing we can do is just remind them, your action has cost the taxpayer this much. And I would suggest that do it for the other two. I don't know how you all think. As a reminder.
oh, yeah, I think three of us went on record saying we don't support the arbitrary. And I think Virginia, we should ask, Virginia does the report, ask her to convey that to the council, that there needs, you know, that we believe, you know, that there should be cost recovery on all zoning changes. I mean, a zoning change, you know, is something that people don't have to do, you know, and I don't think that certainly from my own perspective, I don't want to pay for someone else's zoning change. And so therefore, I think now, you know, I think we should come up with some wording and ask Virginia to convey the sense of the committee, and all agree on that.
We need to say, you know, we are an advisory board in order to tell you which will be serving the best interest of the town. Town means that, I don't know how many, 3,500 residents. And then the ordinance need to be applied consistently. If they want to waive it, they should be waived in a consistent manner.
Absolutely.
And they may even want to come up with some general rules and guidelines. You know, you could always waive and exempt certain things that need to have good cause.
We have a comment from the
I think I was there, and the issue was not to waive it. The thing was, the town was going to do something about the general area. So they said to go and tell the applicant, they have two choices. If they want it right away, then they have to pay for it. Or they wait until when the town does the whole business of the whole area, then it will be no cost. But if they want it right now, then they have to pay for it.
If that's the case, then we should, if that is a timing issue,
Not totally. We gave them two options.
Okay.
One was under a zoning text amendment, which would, in fact,
Yeah, be
as
free,
she's saying,
will be
correct the
free.
entire problem in town, which was also the cheapest option, or the least expensive option to the applicant, or the other was go for a variance, which
Then they have to
the
pay for
estimate
it.
might be additional, additional funds, and it would only impact her. And her bottom line was she didn't want to pay. That's why it was back on the agenda, pure and simple. I mean, we knew you could address it one of two ways, she just didn't want to pay, and that's why it was back.
And then the other gentleman was a separate issue.
Right.
But, I mean, I guess what I heard you say is not the same thing as what I heard Phil say. They're different, you know, and I really would like clarification on that.
And yeah, I can't say I agree with at this point, I don't remember them saying that she had to wait.
There was
Well,
a variance and a text.
this is how it is, as far as I know, they say, there's two ways. If they want it right away, then they have to pay for it. Or the homeowner can wait until do a text amendment when it's done for the whole general area, then she doesn't have to pay.
That's fair.
That's what I got. I don't know, you can take it, but that's what I got. Virginia, what do you say?
And Mr. Rocket commented, he was commenting regarding the fact of he referenced the ULDC, and he made the comment that he did not feel that, I believe this is not verbatim, but the gist of it was, he was referencing that the town should not have to pay for the ULDC to be changed for one person, or something, because he was implying that the person should be paying. He felt that the homeowner should be paying the
He was
expense.
looking at when the home was purchased versus the
Right,
property.
because they bought the
appraiser
property
had-
and the ULDCs were in place when they bought the
Right,
property.
that's why they say that, make them pay, if you want it now, you pay now, or you wait. So
Well,
maybe we can tell them to wait.
Maybe we should table this until the next meeting and get, ask Mark to look at the tape.
Have the minutes.
Yeah,
Take the minutes and look.
yeah, because, I mean, it's important that we.
But the fact that council directed it back to us,
Yeah.
we can't do a variance for it, so it's a text amendment.
Right,
Yeah, I know.
So we're doing the amendment that's gonna affect the whole
but what
town.
did
Yes.
they direct you to do? Oh, okay, yeah, you're
Do
doing the
that,
amendment.
yeah, do a text
I
amendment.
don't
Yep.
really have a problem with a text amendment that affects the whole town. I mean, that's what they're there to do, right? I mean,
Well,
you
let's take a
can
look at
at
Big
it.
Dog Ranch. Big Dog Ranch is paying for their text amendment. You're giving her a pass.
Their deposit.
Oh, they are?
Well,
Yes.
Put up a $20,000
true,
cost
but
recovery.
the thing is that because they are doing the whole South Canal, Collecting Canal, the whole area is being done. Because Big Dog doesn't even know where they're going to be, that's why. Because
Okay.
as I understood it, because you're gonna do a text amendment along the Collecting Canal, I don't know what it is, all I know is that south of Collecting Canal, they're going to do a text amendment for that for everybody. Big Dog doesn't even know where they're gonna be, so they're paying for separate. That's my take on it, I don't know.
But the
text amendment
college,
affects
the
everybody.
college had,
Anybody
yeah,
who
for the
wants
text
to do whatever
amendment.
the
Text
use in
amendment.
question
Yes.
is.
And they knew where they were going.
Okay, why don't we Mark to clarify it, that, I think the concept is the same, that the general public should not be responsible for individual taxpayer for their expenditure. And if this is the desire of the council to make the amendment to the code that will be applied for the whole town, so I think that.
Yeah, I
Well,
think, and I think the
use the
difference in this matter is the town council, from a policy standpoint, can direct town management to do any code amendment at any time that they feel is good and beneficial to the town. There's no question about that. This is a case where the amendment in question is being generated by an individual person who wants to take advantage of the amendment. And technically, that is a cost recovery item. I mean, the next person that comes in the door, when I said it impacts the integrity of cost recovery, the next person that comes in the door, what if they tell me, oh, I don't want to pay? And I say, but you have to pay, that's the town. Well, what about Bianca, or, that's what hurts the integrity of it, because then it gets harder to enforce it.
I think the town should look at this on a case-by-case basis. Otherwise, they should not put the manager to arbitrarily decide, guessing what they want to do to waive or not waive. So if this is the case, then treated differently as directed by the council, by all 5 vote or by majority vote, then that's a council decision. So I guess we just have to write down how much cost it charged additional because of the act. Okay?
I just was gonna ask if you could give a second example of what happened with Mr. Klein, why he's not paying for anything?
Mr. Klein has a residential enterprise. And you may remember about a month and a half back or so, he was trying to change the license with ATF to allow sales of the guns out of the home. And that would, the ATF would not generally have a problem with that, as long as he complies with all aspects of the town's codes. However, they caught him, and they were concerned because he was allowing customer traffic to come to the home, which is not copacetic with the regulations for residential enterprise.
Right, which is the letter they sent you.
So then the town council decided to we're going to amend the code to take out the provision about allowing customers to come to the home. Okay? But what that does is, in effect, that starts to allow, it almost makes everybody's residential AR property a commercial property to some extent. And compounding the RE issue, the residential enterprise issue, is usually that has to be run out of an accessory structure on the property. So what happened was when that amendment, and then they amended it again, and they made some additional changes, and they were going to amend some additional conditions of the residential enterprise in the ULDC. When it got to the planning and zoning board, the planning and zoning board pretty much was, whoa, we can't be doing this, and, for a number of reasons, which there were a lot of valid reasons, and from an activist standpoint, they went, when it was back at second reading before town council, and a number of the planning commissioners went forward, and town council decided to put it on hold, and they directed Mr. Klein to come back and show greater proof, because he's trying to make the argument that he has always sold guns that are out of the home, and the evidence we have just doesn't suggest that. So now, when he came back, and he more or less took another bite out of the apple, and this time council is directing staff to go back and look at the ordinance again, because it was tabled at a second reading. But we don't know what's going to happen on that. One of the council members had asked me to opine about the residential enterprise, and at the time, this was back in April, we did a memo to the council, and we indicated that really the residential enterprise, the home office, special exceptions, the entire situation needs work in the town. We have a situation, for example, where if you lease a structure in the town, property in the town, you can't do a business tax receipt because you have to show that you have a homestead exemption. That is a regulation that not too many communities have. There are the other issues of traffic coming to the structure. The home office kind of has some of the same regulations as the residential enterprise, except that you don't have to do it out of the accessory structure. So you got all these little nuances. You have some home occupation, some businesses out there like piano teachers or music teachers, where does the student, can a student come to the residence? So you have all these questions that need to be addressed, and town council elected to not have staff address those. Now, obviously, if they had told us to do that, I wouldn't think that's cost recovery either, because now you're asking the staff to fix a problem that's been determined. But if you're just dealing with Mr. Klein's, again, is that one individual, and, should we be doing amendments for one individual? So it's the whole argument.
I would think that they would be referring these things to the ULDC committee. Because the concern I have is that you're just piecemeal doing this, piecemeal doing that, and then you've got this committee that's meeting, and they are there to go over the entire ULDC, and, it just, it's almost like, it seems inefficient, and it seems to me that we are not spending our planning dollars effectively reviewing this.
In fact, that we, when we develop our budget, that we have all the expectation of spending certain items. And now if we have this unforeseen and uncontrollable work that added to the town, it will affect the budget too, or we have to defer some projects.
And let me explain why they picked the management company, because I don't think that was clear enough to Ms. Ryan's question. Well, you know, we did an amendment to the contract, which addresses the day-to-day, daily planning and zoning work for the town. However, any special project identified would be handled through a work authorization. And we're cognizant of the fact that some people are saying, oh, they're using work authorization to earn additional fees, and we're trying to be very careful with that. But by the same token, if you throw another project on us, then that competes with our general time for everything we're doing, whether it's, you know, bids, whatever we're doing from the whole workload standpoint, that's now a competing. And so if you don't do it as a work authorization, then something else that's a town-related project will have to wait or compete against that new project that's been assigned. That's the only reason why I say, so it impacts the management company, because it just puts additional stress and workload on. With heavy expectations, I have to think.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, then we move on to this. Any update for the sales tax?
No, everything's all over the state.
On my credit card, the application was ruled incomplete after a 3-week waiting period, and then they have advised that maybe we didn't have to order, go through the application process because we already have one account, but then they came back and said because they're business accounts, we have to have 2 separate accounts, so I'm still on the hold. But we haven't charged anything to my credit card where anybody would be charged, the town wouldn't be charged sales tax, so.
That's the biggest thing I've ever heard. I mean, business cards have, they can have multiple issues.
Well, on a business account, which is, the town is a business
Yes.
account, not an individual account, those are separate accounts. They can't have one account with several card users on the account, so.
I've heard of that. Yeah, this is it.
Okay. New business, the approval of FY 2013 May financial statement. Let's have a motion and second.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Motion by Liz, second by Cheryl. Okay. Comment, discussion? Start with Mr. Manager, you want to walk us through?
I'm sorry, sir.
You want to walk us through that?
Through the financial statement?
Yes.
No, I mean, we normally like when you ask us questions. Bill and I are always excited about that. But we look forward to the challenge.
We'll let you ask questions.
Yeah, I mean, everything is in order, unless there's something you're concerned about, we're happy to address.
Just a
Okay.
question.
Stop on us.
Thank you.
You want the questions.
Be ready.
I just said, there's a deposit in May 24th on the deposit detail, page 18 of 119. Refund Crime Stoppers, are we giving them, they giving us? What are they doing? What was the,
It was a reimbursement for the annual contract. The town had given $2,000 last year to Crime Stoppers, and it was for a year. Nobody collected on that Crime Stoppers award, so they returned it back to the town.
that's how that works.
That's good.
Do we do that often?
That's the first time since I've been here that
Last
they
year
did
when they were
it.
stealing all the signs,
So,
they were stealing signs.
Yes.
And they're still stealing signs.
What are you gonna do with a big sign, a big octagonal sign that says stop?
Aluminum's pretty nice in recycling.
that's right. That's right.
It is, but you have to reach
Yes.
Okay. Well, on page 11, the ad valorem revenue is negative, and I looked at the entries, and it looked like the county gave and the county took away. Can you explain why they would be taking money back from us? It's a negative.
No, that was for the prior month, when, remember when I made an error in the posting? I posted the ad valorem to the garbage and the garbage to the ad valorem. We did the correcting journal
Okay,
entries.
I got it.
That was the correction
Okay.
on that.
Thank you.
We didn't receive anything during that period of May for ad valorem. So all you're gonna see is that negative number for the correcting journal entry.
Okay. All right, yeah, I understand, I just, you know. Now, under, you know about this one, I think, the other services, under, on page,
51,
page 12.
okay.
Page 12, other services, 27,762,
Yeah.
that's from,
That,
we're gonna correct that,
we're
right?
gonna correct. I think there's 1 or 2 months, is it 2 months?
2 months.
Yeah, and we're gonna have the journal entry out, probably $7,000 into the planning side.
It's 6,800 roughly, 2 months in a row. They charge the full amount of our contract instead of splitting it out between the planning and zoning division and the other services under executive. They lumped all of it together into one of the accounts.
Is this what was discussed in May in the May agenda, or is this a different?
This is in addition to that.
If you look,
Ms. Ryan called today about that. The month of April and May, instead of the breakout of 21,000 going into one of the accounts and the balance going into the planning and zoning, when we did the accounting, all 27,000 went to the one account instead of the split between.
but if you look at, if everybody wants to turn to page 52, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just, it's obviously, I knew what it was, but it needs to be fixed or else we'll end up doing another negative adjustment. I mean,
I'll bring that up later. We're gonna be doing another budget adjustment anyway.
anyway, okay, all right, well, but basically, if you look at the very top of the page, you have account 512340, other services. This is other services executive, it's for the town management. That account is for town management administrative services,
Not the planning and zoning.
zoning. And if, you know, you can see where all of a sudden in April, it says amended contract, and it went up from 21,367 the prior month.
Because that's for town management
27.
services / contract amendment. Contract amendment is a contract amendment to the planning and zoning piece of our
Oh,
contract.
okay.
So 21,367 is the normal amount that is charged to this account.
Right.
The balance of that, which is 60-something hundred, goes under professional services
Right. It goes under,
in the 514. No, I'm sorry, that's the attorney.
I think it's 519.
No, it's under the 515310 or 515, it's 515340, which is on page 56 of 119.
but we've had a lot of journal entries back and forth, so,
Yeah, no,
Maybe-
those aren't, those were a mistake that were never caught even with my journal entries. If you look on, it's account number 001515310, where it says professional services. You see this, one of them that says $6,394, one of the entries, the second entry of October. That is the charge for the planning and zoning portion of our contract that was done by a contract amendment with the town council.
right.
And normally, our billing is split into those two accounts, one under services and the 512 for the management of the town, and the other 6,300 goes for the planning and zoning part. And for whatever reason, in April and May, I charged them both to the 5112 instead of splitting them. And I'll make that correction along with the other one, and next month I'll point it out.
that is it. I think everything else, you know, that's all for me. Yeah.
Richard?
Okay, Cheryl got Crime Stoppers, big dog around. Just one point of clarification, I just want to understand. Even though in our capital improvements funds, we show 1,400,000, on page 15, we still have our capital improvement program expenditures, we're keeping to $1,312,466. I'm just curious why we're doing that. Usually you're pretty accurate, or, you know, the capital improvement fund amount is typically equal to what you have planned to expend, you're gonna expense.
And
So on page, so, and just on page 29 for capital improvement fund, we showed 1,400,000. So I just want to make sure I'm on, right, yeah, on the balance sheet. Okay, we'll show 1,400,000. And typically our numbers will add up wherever we look. And then on page 15 for our expenditures, we show we're only going to be spending $1,312,466. Do we have some other project? Is it the variance that,
Yeah.
okay.
the
difference is-
you're going from the balance sheet to.
Right,
the
so I'm just
income
trying to
statement.
remember what the difference is.
The difference was not appropriate. They have $1.4 million, but they only agreed to spend $1.3 million.
Okay, so the other money is
It's
sitting
still
out
in,
limbo land.
well, not limbo land, it's waiting. It's in waiting, money in waiting.
It's in the fund.
It's in
It's
the
been
fund.
moved to the fund.
Right, we just haven't accounted for that.
We haven't spent it.
Right.
And so you would only see it if you,
Had an item for it.
if you had an item for it, they would record it under expenses if they
Okay.
spent any of it. But that's just the balance. Those are the journal entries and the balance in the fund. These
Okay.
are
I just wanted to make sure I
the
was
expenditures in the fund.
seeing that correctly. Okay. I think that's pretty much it for, that's pretty much it.
Okay. I think Julie asked some good questions for someone who may not have background in government accounting. That reminds me of that our contract with CPA firms to provide us with the time with 16 hours of CPE per year. We haven't seen it yet, so
And I just talked to them yesterday.
but this thing has been going on. They have contract with us for how many? For 2 years already, right?
So they owe us 32.
Yes,
Who is
it's 36.
The
The CPA
audit
firm.
audit firm in their contract is supposed to give us
16.
16 hours per year of CPE. In other words, classes.
In government auditing,
In
so
government auditing.
this could cover some questions we have. And you could use it for your employee too. Yeah.
Perfect.
So will you share with them again?
Follow up on that.
Yeah.
Now, there is,
Not this year. I need 72 by the time next year rolls.
You don't think, yeah.
there is one item, Mr. Chair, that I would like to, in the financial activity report, and if you'll recall, we did bring forward a budget amendment, and in that budget amendment, we have some reduction in certain revenues. Just want to bring this to this committee's attention that pursuant to statute, there's an item called the 3 mil equivalency, where the town has to generate at least 3 mils, which for this town is $1,140,000. But they have have to generate through ad valorem taxes, have sent ad valorem permits, utility taxes, and other items. It's later in the budget that we sent forward. This year, when the council adopted 1.2 mils, that left maybe a $40-some thousand cushion. Well, we reduced at least one of the items, $20,000. Just trying to warn you in advance that if we don't collect all the ad valorem that we hope we need to collect, and we don't collect these other revenues that account for that 1,000,001, that could put into jeopardy roughly $700,000 of other ad valorem, of other taxes into the future.
You mean if we fall short this year? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's any year.
Oh.
Now, I think initially they'd probably just tell you, you gotta fix it. That's
Yeah.
my hope. I don't know anybody that's ever violated it, but I mean, this is a new town. Most of the towns have like 100,000. Oakland Park's value is $2 billion, but their number is $500,000.
Yeah.
You know, they generate that with nothing, right?
So what was your thought on that?
Well, last year, we were trying to be very conservative. We may have been a little bit too conservative with 1.2 mils. Maybe we should have had a little bit more. It's just bringing it forward so that you know that it's a concern, that I'm trusting that we're going to collect everything we need to collect, because our cushion is getting very thin. And if we fail at that, it won't affect you until like 2015, I think it is. Because they'll find out that you didn't meet it next April.
Did you propose one
2014.
I think I read it somewhere in the agenda. There was
Yeah,
1.1.
we covered, but that's for this next budget. for
What
next
is it,
year.
1.3 that you were looking at?
No, not one.
1.5? I think I've seen something like that. I'll make sure that the town council is aware.
We tried
Yes,
that.
part-time meeting.
We have all these representatives here that can easily bend the ear of all your town council. That there could be an issue, and it is a lot of money at stake that I would hate to see the town.
Any other questions for the financial statement?
The only other thing is, we are gonna be bringing back another budget amendment, we'll try to bring it back to the next meeting. The council moved additional funds to the district from 8. We had information that the administrator said he only needed 18. We were given the additional information, the council approved 28 and change. So we're gonna have to change the budget to accommodate that, 28,000 and a couple of other little items. And we'll be cleaning that up this next meeting.
Also, in regard to the budget, I had a question to a statement that was made at the town council meeting. I see they're still asking for 150,000, and supposedly, one of the councilmen made the comment, since the roads are all OJM, he was expecting the 150,000 number to be reduced, but now they're saying they still need the 150,000 to maintain the drainage to protect the OJM.
Okay.
That's
the
my
rationale.
understanding, that's what I'm hearing.
They're in the
So there's
business
no
of-
cost reduction for having the OJM apparently put down, it was supposed to save us money.
They're in the business of drainage, that was the original charge, I think.
I'm just letting you know that was I was expecting to see that 150 reduced, and there has been no reduction in that.
I don't think they've asked for anything for next year, have they?
Yeah, they have, I just received a request from Mr. Yogi today, I didn't bring it with me, but I think it's the 28 and the 150.
Okay.
We put the 150 in, we assumed that's where we were going.
Well, that'll be for the council to.
Any other comment?
No, I just wanted you to know we'll be bringing the budget amendment back, and that I'm a little worried about the 3 mil equivalency when we hit that.
Thank you for telling us.
Yeah.
Okay, for the financial statement, any more discussion, any more comments? Seeing none? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. What about the planning and zoning invoices?
That's just for your information, sir.
Um,
And this is all cost recovery, right? E and Z, these invoices?
Yeah. Yeah, that.
I do have a question. I don't understand. On page 77 and 79, these are the hours billed by
They only show cost recovery.
our
Land research.
planning consultant.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, on the first page, 77. So the total hours he spent on April 3rd through April 30th, here he said that 27.75 hours, of which 19.5 was billable.
Well, that's what he billed, he billed
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So the
Bill
bill.
19.5 hours.
Okay.
yes.
So, and then if you look at next page, his billable was 13.25.
Well, the other hours were for Palm Beach State College. You know, the first 19 hours was for the commons. You know, there's two different cost recoveries.
I understand that. So he spent a total of how many hours with us?
This is not, this is, he spent 13.25 hours billing the,
Okay, at the time.
the town center,
For-
the commercial, and he spent 19 hours billing for the rezoning on the commons. It's two different,
Different projects.
Right.
Okay.
well, one of them is for solar sport, I'm sorry, you know, which is different than the Simon property. Right, Mark?
Correct.
It's just hard to
What is for
understand from this, oh, are you know two in yours? Oh,
Well,
okay.
you gotta go back to page
I see.
76. 76 is the first invoice for the 19.5.
And that one's for Loxahatchee Groves Commons.
When he had the, I don't understand that, when he had the total, when it's 27.75, on page 79, it's 21.5. What is it?
What?
You see here? The total here turns,
775.
yeah, the next page is 21.5. I just can't
Well,
follow.
the 2775 is the subtotal of the 21 and the 3 equals 2775.
Yeah, I know these two.
He's just not billing us for all his
See,
time.
all the rest
He's not
of
He's,
them.
he's not billing us for all his time is what he's
Yeah.
doing. This is the total hours he spent, but he's only billing you for 19.5 over 27.
It looks like he's not billing for the planning and zoning board.
Mr. Gleason, as a rule, has done a lot of work in town that we can call pro bono or whatever. He's very good at that. He's a good consultant because he doesn't try to nickel and dime you for a charge.
Okay.
In fact, he's coming to attend a meeting with me tomorrow that he's just volunteering to come to. I'm not charging for it. Because this is him. You're smiling at me, but it would be very easy to determine.
I only heard about free lunch, never heard about free dinner.
No, I know contractors who do that because they know they want to keep the client.
Yeah.
I do know, I do know people who, contractors who do that. But they make a point of letting you know too, and I've even said to one of them, you need to let your client know you're doing this, otherwise they think, you know, they're getting everything, they're paying for everything.
Okay.
One other item, sir. I want to bring to your attention that we're getting, part of one of the budget amendments that we're going to be bringing back are relative to transportation and rock material that the town has been buying. We've purchased roughly 22,670 tons in the first half, 3 quarters of the year, and that's roughly $27,000. And we had originally budgeted to do some vegetation and other work. We thought would be about 40 or 50,000 probably dip into fund balance to bring some money up the ante on those costs in that next budget amendment as well. Don't have an answer other than we get a lot of requests for rock. Lane grading. Another budget.
In fact, so many requests for rock that we may have to get some direction on any limit. That's to the matter.
Who's requesting, or, I mean, yeah, who and for what?
The district, asking for reimbursement for the rock they use on the roadway, right?
No, this is the town roads. Last year, we spent $16,000 for the entire year on road material. We have expended almost $26,000 through yesterday, just on the rock. That doesn't include the cost of the grading or any other cost that has, in association. We budgeted $40,000 for the town roads, the normal maintenance of those roads. I brought it to Mark's attention this morning because the expense is getting so great that at the rate we're going, if we go this on, just on the rock, I'm gonna over expend the budget. We budgeted $40,000 for grading of all the town roads starting in October, and any rock material or anything that we do on the town roads. And it's getting to be to the point where we need to quit just authorizing every request that comes through because the cost is getting really high.
Who was responsible for all these expenses?
Well, we do it as people call in the request, and we approve all the requests, and it goes to the district, and they perform the work, and then they submit it back, and then we get billed for those.
What if they call the
Well, they
district?
could call in to have the road graded, or they call in to have 160 tons of rock put down, or we've spent a lot of money on rock
No,
this year.
I'm trying to figure out, but, well, eventually it comes out from the same pocket of the pocket.
Well, we only have so much money in the 6-cent money. 150,000 of it is pledged to the district. We had $40,000 pledged to do the normal maintenance on the town roads, and then we have another $50,000 that we were gonna use for the hedging and this new contract for mowing and hedging, but the biggest cost would be the hedging of Compton Road that the town council has wanted to do. And I'm not gonna have enough money to keep up with the normal maintenance of the town roads.
Question.
I'm confused.
I don't know, are there more requests for town roads now than before? I
Well,
guess.
for rock, that started last year. We have, that's a new request that started being generated last year, and it's growing. That service is getting larger.
Are we responsible for paying those bills
Yes, sir.
because of the interlocal we have with them, or we voluntary?
Well, okay. Historically, I have been very, very stringent in terms of what was approved. We would get all kinds of requests to do things that were not included in the interlocal agreement that we have with the district. Bill and I sat down and looked, and we indicated that the interlocal agreement covered road grading, and we made the determination that the rock fill, in concert with the road grading, was an eligible expense. But I used to have to turn down hedging requests and all kinds of other things that were coming in because we just didn't have the vehicle to do it. And the requests come a number of ways. They come from residents, they come from the Water Control District, whether it's Mike Walker making an assessment based upon a resident or a council member, comes from council members. So, we look at it, if it's, we are placing a lot of faith and trust in the Water Control District in terms of when they're telling us it needs 2 loads or 4 loads, we're not out there trying to question every time they ask us. So I don't know if that helps you, but that's how it comes about, that's how That's the genesis of it.
Can I ask, you mentioned a $40,000 amount is what was budgeted?
That was the original budget for town road 6 cent maintenance in the budget.
Because this is non-district, so that's the town,
Town road that she
That's
referred
what
to.
you're
town.
calling non-district.
In our budget, we identify it as town roads.
Okay, that's why I was getting confused, okay. So here, on here it says non-district, it's what you're calling the town.
No.
That says non-district.
Yeah.
On page, I'm looking at page 14 of 119, that's why I'm just trying to make sure I'm following the
14,
correct one.
119.
Page 14 of 119 shows an annual budget item of 40,000.
I have it as town roads maintenance 6 cent on my big budget book right here. We budgeted originally
Budget
$40,000.
what we don't have with us.
So
We added another 50 in this last amendment.
So ideally, if there is a need for maintaining the town road, which include the grading and the rocks, that money, the expense should come from our 6 cent gas tax. Now the question is, because of unexpected level of requests and material, now we worry about the money that we budget for that purpose is not sufficient.
Correct.
Then
Um,
it's a budgeting issue, then.
Open expense account.
Well, go ahead, Ines.
I'm just confused by what Carla said. You said we were gonna overrun our budget, but when I look at what's in the ledger, it's
We hadn't gotten
$105,000.
billed from the district till just last week.
Oh.
I've been working on that bill. They billed me through the end of March. These numbers are,
Wow.
we've spent $17,900 through the end of March. Last month alone, it was $9,400 for rock.
Okay.
I think we have to be careful because what that we don't trust water control district. I think it's a matter of accountability.
Right.
We cannot have our, P-sign, open account checkbook for them to fill the dollar amount. Anytime they want to do something, they send a request. They need to know how much we have budgeted for, and they just can't keep sending us the bill. I'm not saying those bills are not legitimate. Even they're legitimate, they could bill a
Sir, but it's not coming from the district. The majority of our requests come in from the public, calls it in. We've gotten to the point where the public is calling in and telling us how many loads of rock they're wanting delivered. And they want it delivered by 4 o'clock that same day. Our service levels have increased dramatically in the last year and a half.
Now, how would they would know if they need two?
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
what-
That's something.
What
So
are they using
basically,
it
the resident is telling you, hey, I need 2 loads and I need 4 loads.
How could they order? I mean,
Yeah.
it should be the district. Someone has to
Or
know how many
someone-
loads.
We
are being
do,
used.
we send it to the district and the district comes back and says 4 loads and it's done.
Yeah.
And you get documentation from the district that they have delivered it, and somebody has initialed that they delivered it.
But the request, what it's come about is the requests have increased.
Virginia?
Yes, this takes me back to the issue we had with billing. And the question I'd like to ask is, the billing issue that we went over, I believe it was about $15,000 in bills from the district, which we suggested not be paid because they were questionable. How are we documenting? The point was supposed to be that the loads were supposed to come from the rock quarry straight to the job site. So is the rock being dumped at the water district? Because there was a big emphasis that the rock is supposed to, and even in this current contract, is supposed to be taken directly to the job site so you know the total tonnage.
When that contract goes into force, that contract gets signed by the district. It's been signed by the town. It's going to the district tonight for their signature, I believe. Going forward, that contract, those rock materials, when they're ordered, will be delivered directly to the site where it's going to be spread, and it will be spread that day.
I
Right now,
understand it's different from an emergency situation.
that's exactly right. And we have a different billing system in place with the district, and it's working very good, and it's been very smooth.
Okay, now is the amount of building that come in that would run our budget.
Well, I don't think that's, I want to stress, it's coming from the residency. It's not, the district's not generating these requests for the additional rock. It's coming in, requests, we get requests sometimes. Today, there was a sheet this long on the desk of just the request for rock for one day.
Who is to say yes or no to the request?
Well, the way the town's been doing, if the request comes in, it is approved by the town and it's submitted to the district so they can complete the work as quickly as possible as they
So
can.
that means you know how much we're going to spend on those things. You know how much we have in the budget.
You know how much has been approved.
Yes, so you know. So you can't say we have no control.
Well,
You have to get turned down.
we have,
It's sensitive.
Let them finish.
Yeah.
Let them answer the question first. So you know who requests how much we're going to spend for the labor and material. We know that we don't have enough money in the budget, or we know that we have a lot of money in the budget. So what's the problem? It's under your control. People say no, we don't have money.
I have said no numerous times.
Okay?
The problem is when I say no, usually there's a problem, because I've said no.
Okay, then.
Well,
it gets done anyway.
What?
It gets done.
How does that happen?
How did that happen?
We'd like to know.
Usually, the work order should be requested and authorized by the
Then
town.
don't pay it.
Then
It gets done.
We
you don't have to
don't.
approve it.
If you
It's
didn't
just
sign
like
off
you-
on it, why is it getting
Yeah,
paid?
you get paid to administer our town.
That's a fair question.
I mean, I know,
If it's
I
not
know a
approved by
council
the
member
town manager.
could call and do it, and then, you know, you just have to have a separation of your duties. I mean, I'm saying it too simple. However, you do have a budget, and then if you want to spend money from other, transfer from other places, that should be,
I'll be happy to say no. You want me to say no?
well, no.
No.
Oh, no.
You have to
We do.
tell them how
Well-
much money you have in the
We'd
bank.
like to you to document
Yeah.
that you
But
said
we don't
that.
think you should pay
There are a
invoices.
couple of problems. One is the district has not provided any paperwork all year long. That's
And why-
first and foremost.
For what?
For
To even let us know what they've charged
For
on
what?
expenses.
I thought
We just got the
when
bill.
people call in, you know, you have to approve it first before
We
they say
don't know
bill.
what the cost is.
Can you estimate it? I mean, you have to estimate first.
Right.
You can't just say, I need a vehicle, then you send me a Chevette or you send me a Mercedes.
We tried
It's
that,
not-
we did that this week because the
I
way the
think-
request comes in, it comes in by the load. The bill for the aggregate is by the ton. So last Friday, was it Thursday? Last Thursday, we did a walking tour. And the walking tour consisted of how many people we could ask at the district, how many tons filled up a load. What was considered a load was that one dump truck. When it was determined that it was one dump truck, then the argument was, how many tons are in a dump truck? Well, we don't know. We finally got that calculation. It's 20 tons to a dump truck. That's the only way I can compare the bill with when they come back and they say we need 6 loads, but that's not how it's charged by the aggregates. So we finally determined that it's 20 tons per dump truck, so one load is one dump truck.
One specific size dump truck.
Average loads we get are 4 to 8 loads, which means 40 to 80 tons of rock per time somebody makes a request. It depends on if the rock is charged at $10 a ton or $12 a ton, depending. Now they're using the $10 ton charge. So we just determined the equivalency so we can try to take the bills that they received from the aggregates, put it together with the request that was requested, then the approval of the request, and then the response back from the district stating what work they completed and when they completed it. But we just received 6 months' worth of billing last week. So we have not seen a bill from the district since November of 2011.
We are willing to take your advice and recommend that we put it in the trash can because it's too late.
My advice is that you need to request periodic requests from them, a billing from them. You cannot wait until 6 months.
We've asked.
Well, I think you are the management, you are the manager. We don't know a truck should be a long truck or a short truck. We don't know it should be US dollar or in Hong Kong dollar. We don't know. I mean, you have to determine that. I don't think we are interested in knowing how they calculate. We're interested in you are monitoring the budget, monitoring the billing. You do it. I mean, we don't know.
Well, let me say this.
It's getting very confusing now. Bill said that we don't get it.
Granted, it is confusing. Now, let me just say this, because you seem to be upset, so let's
No, it's
address.
very confusing.
Well, let's address your concern now. You know, one of the reasons why we're going to contracts right now is because of the fact that I enforced and the staff enforced the interlocal agreement. And on many occasions, there were requests for services that we did not feel, as a management company, met the interlocal agreement. Secondly, the district did not want to meet actual costs, so we had that issue. And I can tell you, Ms. Underwood dealt with that problem for a long time, in which they didn't provide the information. Now, I'm certainly willing to say no to every darn request until we get the proper information. But you're turning it on me like as if I don't know what I'm doing and what I'm proving, and that's not the case, Mr. Chair.
No. I didn't mean it. What I hear is that we are getting information which we should have received 6 months ago, and suddenly everything is more than we budgeted. What is that interlocal? What's that inter?
The new
What is that
contracts.
meeting? What is that interlocal meeting? What is that for?
Intergovernment meeting.
Yeah. What is that for?
The IGC,
Yeah. What is that?
that is to address issues between both the district and the town.
Do you not consider this an issue, a billing
I
issue?
think we've
Well,
discussed that many times.
I think we brought it up meeting after meeting after meeting.
Well, if it
I don't
creates-
control the district.
Mr. Manager, I hope you don't get it wrong, okay? What I'm hearing is that they are sending you something which should have been coming in 6, 7 months ago, and then you get it all at the same time. You don't know how much it ought to be, you don't even know how they calculate the billing, you don't even know how much is the labor, and suddenly
Oh,
you
I
receive-
do, I know all that now.
Now, but not 4 months ago.
Last year, when I submitted the criteria on how they should bid, when Mr. Yohe came in place, I sat down with Mr. Yohe and their accounting staff, and we have negotiated a fair compromise on fuel cost, on the cost of the use of the equipment, on the employee wages, taxes, benefits, and what part of that they can charge the town for the district roads and what they can charge under their 150,000 interlocal. It has taken them 6 months to build. With the new contract, one of the requirements of the new contract is they have to submit bills on a monthly basis. We can't wait.
6 months.
Before we got here, and the year we got here, they were billing once a year. So the town didn't know what they had expended, and we didn't have these requests like we do back and forth. At the end of the year, they submitted a bill 3 days before the end of the fiscal year. Last year, the invoices were 7,000 pages of invoices. And nobody can work 24 hours a day and try to close out your fiscal year and pay them in a timely manner. And going through the type of documentation that they submitted was unacceptable. This year, we started, and I know Mr. Yohe was trying to get on his feet and trying to get things going down there. But him and I have met week after week till he was finally felt comfortable submitting the bills the way they should be. Because every time we'd meet, when they were submitting something, if there was a problem with it, he would take it back to his staff and they would try to make those corrections. He didn't want to submit a bill that was going to be rejected. And I think we have a great working relationship, but it's taking this amount of time to get the billing, and we've already submitted the payment for the $28,000. I'm almost finalized the work on the district billing charges for this first 6 months, and I'm going to start tomorrow on the district road bills, which are a little bit more encompassing. But we hopefully with the new contract, it's $110 a mile. They just have to produce how many miles they grade, and everything is included in that charge. So it's gonna make their life a little bit easier. It's gonna be a little bit easier for the town to reconcile, and I hope that they'll be able to submit monthly bills, and that's what his intention is. But we really didn't realize how much money we've expended till all of a sudden today, I finished the district billing, and I noticed how the increase in the rock, and then I asked the office to give me the last 2 months, and just today, it was $9,000 worth of rock order. That's a lot. When I see that, it's if I look at the last 3 years, the highest year we spent was $14,000 for a whole year. So we went from 8 to 14, and now we're at 26, and I'm projecting somewhere in the neighborhood of $47,000 just for rock alone before the end of this fiscal year.
So that, in the long story short, this thing happened because of the prior administration of the water control district.
Now these are all charges from October 1st, 2012 through,
No, that's before you came on board.
no. We didn't pay for any of them when we
I
came
thought
on
it
board.
was the work being done during that time.
No. This is starting this new fiscal year.
This fiscal year.
This fiscal year.
And fortunately, with the bid, that the town is saving $55 a mile because the town was paying $165.
Question. I think, let me see if what I'm hearing. That means either it has to be that the residents are generating a heck of a lot more requests.
Oh, well, they want
Yeah,
drive-through service.
No, I'm sure. So that is basically what so that means before they were not doing it. Before they used to request clean, and clean used to tell them, take a hike, they're gonna do it. And that's what happened. So now they call in, it's getting done, it's gonna cost us. Maybe what you have to do is basically inform the residents.
Talk to them, not talk to us.
Yeah, got two conversations going on here.
Yeah, feel confused.
Yeah, maybe, management need to bring up to the town, to the council and tell them you're getting, what is the percentage of requests generated and inform all the residents, yeah, we're gonna do your roads, but it's gonna cost, you need to bring it up.
And we probably ought to publish
Yes.
the requests.
Yes, I think publish the request, that's a good idea, no kidding.
Yeah.
You should. Publish the request, everybody making a request, put it online.
Documentation.
Let them know, exactly.
Documentation.
Make it open, and let everybody know who's making requests.
It's public information that
Right.
needs to be back to
Information
the.
now.
Should be, I think that's a good idea. Then people will know where the money is.
Can we put in a suggestion so that we could?
Yes, that's a very good
We would
suggestion.
love that.
Yeah.
What in the report, you looking at me to write that in the
Yeah,
report?
yes, I'm talking about for the, as a routine
Yeah, the
report, yeah.
consensus of the committee was that
Well, where it is, it should be out in the open now.
to town management publish the rock request.
These aren't emergency stuff that are going through.
No, this is
you
just the
know,
regular.
hey, I want 2 tons delivered, and, you know,
Town management.
what the hell do they know?
No, they don't call it by tons, they call it by loads.
Well,
The road.
2
rock
loads
and
delivered,
road
I mean, what?
request, because it might be
Yeah.
one road rock.
They're very
and work
informed
request.
residents.
They probably don't know all that's in, you know, all that encompasses the load and what
To
goes.
document.
Todd, you have a question?
I do. Mark had made a comment, he said no many times and the work is done anyway. I'm wondering who supersedes that decision. Wouldn't you say no? Unless I misunderstood.
No, there have been some situations where I have said no. There was a hedging project that was done in the past, and there were a few projects that we think were done. But what I didn't do is, we're limited in staff, so I wasn't going out trying to prove everyone. There was a time with the previous administrator where I had an IGC meeting. I challenged his assertion that all the work had been done, and he assured me it had, but it was very questionable.
So you didn't call the water control district and ask for it done, and then you got a bill for it, and it was done, supposedly, is what you're saying?
Well, we have a form that we created, okay? And generally what happens is, if somebody calls in the district will let us know. Usually the form comes to me, I'll review it and sign off. Same thing, if we get it, we take it, we sign it off and then send it to the district, assuming it's eligible. With the rock, I really have no way of knowing whether, it's 2 loads, 4 loads. I mean, I am relying on a good faith effort from them, as a fellow government, that they're not, giving us bad information.
You made it sound like somebody had said, I need 5 loads on 22nd Road, and you said no, and then next thing you know, you got a bill. But that's not necessarily the case.
Well,
If they submit a bill that hasn't been approved by the town, we reject that invoice. In last year's billing, most of the problems were that the agreement that we have in place, not the new one, and the new one going forward is in place too. The agreement we have in place is the authorization has to be approved by the town for consideration. In the prior years, some of those requests were not approved by they never even came to the town for their authorization. So anything that the town hasn't signed off, if Mark's signature isn't on the authorization, we do not pay that bill.
Yeah, I think that's the
That's
concern.
correct, yeah.
and I have a stock language which basically said, the agreement does not cover this, or
Yeah.
something along those lines.
So the only unknown is the
How much?
quantity, we don't know. Like how many loads and how many tons.
We learned that Thursday. We've got that. I know the tonnage now. I can even do the calculation.
So in the future, the ideal situation is that Mark, you should be able to estimate how much this request is going to cost in terms of material, the tonnage, and how much it costs, and the labor, right? And then you sign off on it.
It's just per mile charge and as.
Okay.
Right, it'd be easy, just per mile and that's
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I'm with thought that how could that you say no, that you get a bill later on, that's something, I'm getting very confused, and
Well,
that's why.
some of them actually went to the council for approval over objections of being told no.
Well, that's where I was going, so there is somebody superseding.
But that part is done in the public forum, they approve it.
Well, I understand, but
That's
you're
what he's saying, that's
asking
what's
and I'm
adding to
telling
the
you,
cost
we
of
said no, and it
I know,
got
but-
done.
Isn't that what's adding to the cost of it, the fact that the residents, that you said no, and they went, well, I,
I know, but-
who me, I have this little problem. and-
But they are still aware of how much it's gonna cost, because it could be approved by the council, it will approved by the manager. But still, I know, just like,
Is it because of the 150,000 that you figured that I got 150,000? Did you pay more than 150,000? Per se? Maybe like I said, now, going through the same train of thought. Whatever is requested is approved. Okay, some of them requested not approved, and then the amount that was paid was, so they figured, I got 150,000, I spent, I did all that.
They don't meet the threshold to get the 150,000 on the other contract. They don't have enough expenses to meet that threshold. So they bill for the 150, but they don't make it to the 150. This is on a different contract. There's 2 contracts, one's for town roads, one's for district roads. Both of them are for actual cost.
So
One's
you
for-
think that we are paying even though it's been not approved?
No, I just said,
Yeah,
if
you
it's
said one
not
thing,
on-
but they just said that even though it's not approved, it goes to the
well,
council.
sometimes it gets walked on by the council, and the council will approve it even though it was not authorized.
the council, you mean the 5 members or council, or 1 council member?
Well, the 5. Well, it's
The
been
5
brought-
of them? If they approve it, then
I don't know how they
It's
vote,
a
I'm not
direction
at the
from them.
present at their meetings,
it's
but
not approved,
I mean, they have not approved 1 or 2, but generally they approve.
But I have not been shy to tangle with one individual council member if I didn't think it was appropriate pursuant to the agreement.
okay, that's.
And I paid that price, but
Thank you.
that goes with the territory.
Well, I mean, they cannot correct you by 1 person,
That's correct.
yeah. It should be a 5,
Ruth, right?
yeah. But because that will affect our budget, and you have to transfer the money. Okay, this is very confusing.
you don't know.
I do,
It's,
that we just can't speak in front of camera. Okay, are we done with
the
section
proposed
5?
budget and
5?
capital improvement program is the next item.
Okay. Here it is, what page is it?
Starts on page 8.
80.
Okay. Mr. Manager, you
Well,
want the
Mr.
board?
Chair, this preliminary budget is based upon also some meetings that we've had with individual council members. Actually, Mr. Underwood and I did meet with a number of the council on June 8th to review, basically initiatives, wish lists they might have in an attempt to put this together from a preliminary standpoint. The recommended budget for all funds is $3,970,246 and includes a breakdown of, under the general fund, $1,125,059, and that constitutes 28% of the total budget. Transportation at $966,571, which represents 24% of the budget. Capital improvements program at $1,413,630, which is 36% of the budget, only for 2014, not the planning years. And then solid waste at $464,986,000, representing 12%. We currently have a bid out on the streets, as you know, relative to that service, so there will be some change there. In the memorandum, Mr. Underwood artfully discussed the 3 mil equivalency, so I won't touch on that any further. Right now, we are recommending, or at least it appears that we will need a millage rate increase to 1.5 mils to cover this current budget as proposed. Again, I would caution it's preliminary. Some of the highlights, we have added town road surveying, $100,000 for FY214 funding. Again, there's the OGIP improvements to Clucking Canal Road, which is $943,630, FY214 funding. Traffic light signal at Okeechobee Boulevard and D Road, that was reduced a bit to 220, but we have funding in the next out year of 250,000, I believe, to address that, because as you remember, I've gone back to council and I've indicated that we think the 220 to 250 area will cover the cost of the design of the signal, but that there are probably additional site improvements, canal work, that kind of stuff that's going to actually make that a more expensive project. Future Town Road OG project, $100,000 for FY214 funding. As of right now, there are no dollars assigned for trails. And Town Hall alternatives was reduced to $50,000 for FY214 funding. We proposed a $600,000 transfer appropriated for a portion of the CIP from Transportation Fund. And I guess the highlights, as I would, in summary, the millage rate increases 0.3 mils from 1.2 to 1.5. A transfer of $200,000 from the general fund to capital projects. A transfer of $600,000 from Transportation Fund to the CIP to fund more than half the money needed to apply to the OGIM to Clucking Canal Road. That's a very big project, obviously. And capital improvements program, plan improvements of $963,630 through FY218. Again, that covers the planning years. So with that, we can go, we can go through each, all the revenues, and we can go through all the expenditures by category if you would like, or Mr. Underwood and I are here to answer any questions you may have. That's just a quick summation of what town council will be looking at when we have the budget workshop set for July 2nd from 6 to 8 p.m. prior to their regular meeting that evening. So with that, I'd be happy to address any questions or go page by page, however you would like, whatever you like.
So how much is the from 3 mills generate?
It's about 58,000.
How much would 3 mils generate?
From 3, you propose that from 3 mills.
No, the 3 mils is the equivalency that we have to do.
The
Page
1.12.
82.
Increase.
Oh.
They increase the fund from 3 mills.
I think if you look at page 82, would that answer your question?
Yes.
How much?
Page 82.
Page 82, they got the different levels.
1.5
1.2 here.
would give you what, the 1,100,000?
The 1.2 would not give it to you. If we did 1.3, we'd have 17,000 extra, 35,000 at 1.4, and 40,000 at 1.5. So So it's 40,000.
So we generate $40,000 more for 0.3 million. What if the town council decided not to increase, and then we would take it out from?
See, I don't know any city that's ever not met the 3 mil equivalency or government, so I know that they hold over your head all your intergovernmental revenues. It's a half-cent sales tax, it's a communication services tax, that would be your 5 cent and 6 cent gas tax, or first and second, however you
We
want
could
to.
lose all of our revenue.
State revenue sharing.
Pardon me?
State revenue
State
sharing.
revenue sharing, those would, they withhold those, or they have the authority to. Since I don't know that anybody's ever not met the 3 mil equivalency, I don't know, and I don't know that they know. I know that the statute says we can keep the state money because you didn't do what you said you were going to do.
Yeah, we have to levy, we have to,
Well, that 40,000, what these numbers mean at the bottom, that is the cushion that you have above the minimum, okay?
yeah.
And that's really the,
It's not much cushion because you said this year.
yeah, we know we're off 20.
This year, we thought we were gonna, we're gonna be at least 20, maybe $40,000 off. So we really have to go to 125 at that
We've
level.
talked about,
Choice.
because you can use a business tax receipts as a way to generate money, that we could be adding to this. Also, we talked about a utility tax for water service. We have one for the light bill, but we don't have for the water service that Palm Beach County generates. We've also talked about raising, the town gives sufficient revenues to cover their expenses. If they make sure that the cushion's in place, the town council can reimburse the taxpayers, by writing them a check back for the increase in their millage, because this year, the $20,000 we lost on communications, and then the business tax receipts were down, and the ad valorem is not even coming in at the 95%. If we don't meet the shortfall, we're worried that the next year, if we don't meet it 2 years in a row, what would the state do then?
Yeah,
And it's an easy fix if they raise the millage or increase some of these things, and then they can turn around. We gave a subsidy last year that town council did to the residents on their sanitation,
Right.
to the tune of $126. The town council can turn around and reimburse the residents for a portion of the increased ad valorem, and we meet our threshold, and the residents, while at the beginning would, see that increase, but the town could write them a check and reimburse them for that cost, because we have plenty of funds to meet our expenses. That's not the problem.
I just want to make a comment about it. We're at 93% year-to-date on ad valorem revenue, and, there's normally, we don't worry about collecting the rest of it, because when it goes to tax sales, we get our money, right?
Jim,
I know the water control district is also
Yeah.
well behind in collecting their revenues.
well, I
And-
think in
Yes.
the courthouse sale, July 1, that's when they go on the courthouse for the tax certificates.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
July.
July 1, and then we end up getting money August timeline.
But normally it comes in. And,
Think so.
is there any concern that people are just gonna walk
I have
from
seen
these
that,
tax
I have
certificates?
seen
And
that
we're not gonna
occur.
be able to sell them,
I've had years where I did not reach the 95%, and then the next year, I get 105.
oh,
Because somebody
Yeah.
came in after the fact, and they bought a tax certificate 2 years, and they funded. I've seen that. Do I have a concern? I don't know. I suspect there's somebody out there that's gonna buy a tax certificate. And Jen, the people I knew that did that typically, they offered a rate of 18% per annum
Yeah,
And they did quite well with that.
and they got it,
Yeah,
Any question?
So I think what Carl is saying makes sense. So that means we are really not increasing the taxes. We are just saying increase, but you get your money back. So.
Well,
we
the
are-
town council, if they
can
so
do that.
chose,
So that's one way to do it. So it's not raising taxes. We have to do it by mandatory by state. And then, let's say, make it $50,000, make an easy number, and then you can turn around and, defray it in some way,
well,
shape or
you
form.
could
Like
transfer
issuing
it to
business
the
tax
sanitation
receipts.
again.
Yep.
You could transfer it to sanitation and reduce the sanitation bill.
except we don't have that in the budget either.
No, that,
I mean, we're really
we
getting,
had some very large increases in expenditures proposed for next year, 60.
we really have some big increases in expenditures
Yeah.
this year. That is, yeah. So some of those would have to come out if we're gonna give money back to the residents.
Well, I don't, the legal, I think, is pretty, that's gonna stay probably, so that was an extra 60,000. Then we had another one that was an extra 60,
Lobbyist.
the
The
lobby.
lobbyists,
And so you may want to, but, I mean, there was a request for lobbyists, and quite frankly, they can be very beneficial. I happened to have worked where they had one of each flavor.
what do we need the lobbyists for?
You would use them for county funding.
Oh, to try to get county funding for a traffic light, or, yeah,
Well,
so it would pay for itself.
The lobbyist was for the, and I actually spoke against the lobbyist at the town council meeting, I need to let you know that, because the light was for Southern Boulevard, and it was not, the lobbyist was not for Okeechobee Boulevard, it was for Southern
Who's our
Boulevard.
lawyers?
They don't have it.
So where the expenses go?
This is proposed.
Oh, it's in the council's,
request.
Council
These are,
request.
we've incorporated, the council had individual meetings and they had their wish list. And we've incorporated all their requests within the budget.
Okay,
That was one of
but
those.
how do we plan to spend the lobbyist money?
you can hire.
We hire lobbyists to do it?
Yeah,
You put them on, generally it's a retainer,
And you pay them a month.
We
and-
did
depending
that
upon what you
before.
want.
That was, I didn't say that
Oh,
at the town,
yeah.
instead of, you've had such, you seem to be making headway with Mr. Packard coming in and speak. I don't know if he was speaking for Okeechobee Light or not. I don't know what light he was speaking for, but you now have engineers on board that I saw and here that are also with Palm Beach County. So it seems like you've got the engineers coming in who are in sync with Palm Beach County. There may be some tools and resources you have where we might not even need a lobbyist. I mean, I thought we were focusing on Okeechobee Boulevard, now we're jumping all the way down to Southern, which is, that is a state road, correct?
That is correct.
So it would be a lobbyist to lobby the DOT for a traffic light at D Road. Not gonna happen. I don't think,
This is a preliminary draft of a recommended budget. We, at this present time, don't have the final numbers for ad valorem assessment. We don't have any of the numbers from the revenue estimating conference. So it's pretty fluid as far as the revenue side is concerned. We won't really have most of those till July. But the expenditures are within reason. And that's why we thought we should get it, because expenditures are probably our biggest issue.
so what is the legal,
You have some ongoing issues relative to litigation.
the Day property,
Palm Beach State.
Palm Beach State, is that in litigation or?
Well, not litigation, it's, well, before the judge to,
Oh, you're talking about the lawsuit.
yeah, for the
Let me ask,
mandamus relative to the
Okay.
issue. worst case scenario on the Day property, if it goes in their favor and there's a financial settlement in their favor, what happens to the town?
Write a check.
Yeah.
Okay, we're looking at the same budget, right? I'm just curious.
That was a tongue-in-cheek comment, right?
But I'm being realistic. What happens when a town is in that situation and they have to go bankrupt? What is the,
What you wanna know, a real life
when you
situation?
don't have the money to
I'll give
pay?
you one, Boynton Beach, it was a development that was going on there, the commission there said no. They then went to court, and went through all the trial and tribulations. At the end of the program, the city lost. There is a statute that allows cities to borrow money for legal debt, okay? They went to court to get that authority, the judge said no.
So then there they were.
At that point, the commission had no choice, because Boynton at that time, the millage rate was already very high. And it was something north, I don't know, 8, 10, 12, 15 million, it was a lot of money.
And they're
okay?
still in existence.
They're still in existence, but what they had to do, they took their water and sewer operations and they jacked up the rates so high that all the excess money that they made went to pay the debt.
So I shut off my water is what I did.
Yes.
Well, no, you're counting on it.
That's why I'm shutting it off. I just want to know.
That's a real case, that's a real life example. And I'm giving you the
The
short,
realistic situation.
the short, sweet, that's what happened to them. And I suspect Mark probably has other examples of other cities around the
But
state.
in the case of Levert Harris, isn't it normally just give them what they want? I mean, you know, if we lose, then the court could order that, hey, he gets his development, this is what he, right? And then you have to pay his legal expenses as well.
They have an inverse condemnation request against us, which that's where the money comes in pretty much.
Yeah, but the town would always have the opportunity to make the.
I prefer not to discuss this
Yeah.
legal issue, let's leave it alone.
No, I was just curious about the money
That's-
and
I
the,
think that's enough.
yes, no, I
It's
apologize, yeah,
on record,
okay.
because it's still, okay,
At any rate, but the expenditures are, I think, I mean, the council are gonna do some, you may have recommendations that you don't, you can tell the council that you don't agree with whatever the item is, and we put those in there. Right now, that is where we're at, on the expenditure side, we actually had some fairly significant increases.
the CIP, the Faac Meeting, to the council members pretty much get a general idea of what we have here now, based on input provided by them.
They're getting the
Is it going to be a
entire-
surprise to them?
They're getting the same thing.
They have this,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we
You're
won't
getting,
get.
yeah, you're getting the same thing they're getting, right?
Okay.
And a lot of these were, their changes. Because if you notice on the town hall, all the funding has been eliminated with the exception of $50,000.
We're not going to have buildings?
This is the council's wish list. We incorporated
So we're gonna have
their projects into this.
The
So
town
any
center
of
development.
these capital improvement is with the town council's input
Okay.
a couple of weeks ago.
That's my question, want to make sure it won't be a surprise.
Was there, I had a question, and again, since we discussed that there is 1,400,000 available for capital improvement, and so there's a little room there of about 77,000. I thought, and this issue involved the work that was done, I don't know, I think it was 148, or, I thought there was a legal requirement, I heard either at the water district or a town council meeting, that culvert work, the lawyer had insisted that the town or the district, somebody do a little bit of work for a trail, a horse trail. Everybody's gonna pretend they didn't know anything about it.
No,
but I was
I'm
there.
aware that the company said we own it. Just that.
No, there was a part of that letter, and I'll be happy to go and get a copy of the public record and request the attorney's letter. But I believe there was a statement made by the attorney from either the title company or something, that they were concerned about a portion of that area being maintained for a trail. Now, I don't know how that plays with everything else that's going on with, Southern Timber. But I'm just saying there's 40,000 that the water district has
for some little trail work.
Oh, they've been doing that for like 10 years now.
Yeah, holding on to that money. So what I'm saying is I see 0 for trails. I know we're doing stuff on Collecting Canal, but it seems like there's some residents in the community who would appreciate a little bit of trail work instead of keep pushing it further and further and pretending we're going to do something in the budget. It'd be nice if we could either get the 40,000 from the water district and start making, with the reg tag committee, asking them to, get the 40,000 and start doing a little something somewhere on a trail. I know they have a plan they're working on. I realize it was Collecting Canal, but, there's a way to do something for some of the equestrians in the neighborhood.
I think
It helps property values.
I think if you get the audit from the water control district, you'll find in the notes in the audit, I think they have spent and collected about half of that grant from Palm Beach County called Trails. And they've spent about half. I couldn't tell you where.
That's not what was said last year. Last year it was
That's not what
quoted
they've
as
been, you're right.
40,000 is what they have kept as a line item.
Okay.
I think they
I
should
would
start on
recommend-
the
I
first
think we ought-
county road, I mean,
Somebody
the
should read the
district
audit.
road.
It's just
I'll
not.
be happy.
I could be wrong. I just recollect reading something.
Okay, any other questions?
I just want to say that, on a positive note, the budget is very well documented. I mean, extremely well documented. It's really the best documentation we've had on a budget in the years that, and I think that if the council, when the council votes on it, they have been given all the documentation they need to know exactly what they're voting for. So, I do appreciate it. I mean, I don't think that this is the forum where I would want to say move, from, category A to category B, because I think that's more of a council meeting. But from what this committee is supposed to do, ensure that it's documented, that we know what the assumptions are, that it's clear. You guys did a great job, and I appreciate it.
Very good.
We believe in being accountable and transparent.
Yeah.
That's a key word. Okay, that's very good. So we come to the closing comment?
I do have one to share, and I am beseeching that perhaps you could assist the company in the town. There was a comment provided, in you being an auditor, CPA, and external auditors in general. There was a comment made that appears as though your external auditor may have been influenced by management beyond common auditing practices. And that, I believe one of the council members indicated that we advise the auditor of expenditures in gas tax that may or may not have met the qualifications for a capital outlay. I can assure you we did not. And if that is true, then I would recommend that this committee or you educate that council member, because he is the one that appointed you specifically, and clear the record. The auditor came in, he sees a big chunk of money, it's spent on a capital item, okay, and he asked for an opinion, we asked for the opinion. We didn't have to give the auditor anything. The expenditure shows up in the line item. But for the imposition or the characterization that your external auditor has been influenced, who is supposed to be an objective independent body working specifically for the council, influenced by the town management, I believe is an inappropriate position for a council member to take. And if that is the belief, then I think this committee, should probably recommend termination of that firm, if that is accurate. And otherwise, I would beseech you to try to provide guidance to that council member in that, that is not true. We do not. It is not something that I would take great pride in. And I would think that display of position that we did something inappropriate, and the auditor agreed with that inappropriateness and also followed that inappropriateness, is suspect and questionable.
So what do you want to do?
I would recommend that I'm beseeching that you, as chair and the appointed individual, speak with your council member, try to bring them up to speed that external auditors are objective, independent bodies that don't do what we want.
I think there may be some miscommunication and misunderstanding of the issue.
I understand.
Yeah,
That's
I
why I'm
just want to
asking you
explain it,
try
yeah,
to straighten it out.
because sometimes when we, all this my years of experience in auditing, there are certain issues that will never surface. Either they are insignificant or they are beyond the scope. So, and sometimes for auditors to write those things up, that there must be an indicator in there. So indicator be openly discussed or very obviously easy to find. We don't know. There are many, many conditions. So the condition could be from A through C. So you could.
I understand.
So,
It's just
I-
that
yeah,
the council member indicated or implied or inferred or otherwise stated that the auditor was taking instructions from us relative to your funds and the town's funds and the council's funds. That is wholly inaccurate, and it should not be allowed to be perpetrated through the issues that the town discusses.
I just think, it's very hard to say something from, here and say, and then Regina told her to tell me to tell you.
Yeah.
After a few people, I just,
I have a question. I think what you were saying is that a town council member perhaps is implying that the auditor was not independent?
I think the issue was that management told the auditor that we spent the money, and by gosh, we wouldn't even, it wouldn't even be in the management letter if we hadn't told. Which
And all the
is,
all the
And that is-
information is here every month in the books.
and that is what I'm saying is, for that statement to be made,
There-
there's a complete misunderstanding of the role of the external auditor and management relative to the expenditure of funds. Whether or not, we did not have to tell him anything. He came in and said, hey, you got this $138,000 in this capital outlay. Where's your road?
But, you have advised the council person that he was incorrect in his assumption, right?
I advise the council person, and I also, because he insists that that's what the auditor stated at the public meeting. The auditor did not state that, but I had advised him that I would request that Chair Chu, as an auditor, could explain the role and the function of an auditor and how he goes about picking and choosing in broad terms what he's going to look at. Our auditor picked and chose certain invoices. That specific invoice was the largest one expense of the towns all year long. That was one of them he flagged, and it was perfectly fine. It was a construction of a road. He requested that I hadn't capitalized that road. And I advised him, and he asked me what road it was. I told him which road it was. He asked that I contact the town attorney to get the proper documentation so we could capitalize the road. The town attorney advised that we could not capitalize that road, and Mr. Morton made the comment in his management letter that he never asked me for invoices. When he comes in with his list, and he goes right to my files and he pulls the invoices himself. He'll sit down with me. There were several invoices he pulled. Some of them, the documentation wasn't with the invoice, and I had to find that for him. That particular invoice, it came out about because we had to capitalize that expense. And I suggested, because he has confidence in you, and that would be a good person that maybe when you had time, that you could explain the role. Because it is important, because the position was, well, if you say that happened, then okay. But it wasn't, I misunderstood. It's just, if that's what you want to say, then I'll accept it. And I thought it was important that he needs to be reassured, you know, the different roles and the different functions. And you might be able to help in that respect.
I think for several things. Number one, I'm serving on behalf of, as being appointed by a council member. Absolutely, I'm serving for the best interest of the town, of the residents. I'm not sure I get a time to educate somebody about the government auditing standard and the requirement of all these rules and regulations. And that's why I keep asking, where's our CPE hours? I think this is a good opportunity to recommend our council members to attend some of those classes. Well, if you,
I just taught that class Saturday.
I have about 70 hours credit in accounting. 60, meaning how many courses? 20
I haven't
courses.
seen you this week.
So, but I mean, it's not just like, you know, I could give him a cram course. I'd be more than happy to explain to him. I can't just react to a request and say, Mr. So-and-so, you are inappropriate, the statement made is wrong, without knowing it's not my role to audit you, to look into who did what. I'm not here to investigate you.
That's
No,
not
let me
what we
finish.
were
I'm
asking.
not here to investigate you whether you make a statement correctly or he made a statement incorrectly, or for some other reason it perpetuated up to this point. So, or even to respond to your statement, we need to fire the auditor. I mean, where does it come
Well,
from?
if that is his belief.
Well, that's irrelevant. I mean, that's not our role to say whether you are right or wrong, and then because you are right or wrong, then we're going to fire or hire somebody. That's not our role. And I hope that is clear. I mean,
Well,
I don't know what.
As part of the finance, accounting and auditing, I thought that
it
was
is our
part
role
of
to
it.
fire the auditor, if we feel the auditor is.
Somebody could prove the auditor is
Well, I
wrong.
hear that.
I don't
I'm not in
know.
that, I'm not in that position. It's not me that's in question. The question is from the people that appoint you, not me.
So what you're
Okay.
saying is, so the other way of looking at it, perhaps based on what Mr. Chu just said, was perhaps perhaps Mr. Chu may want to speak with this person and ask him what he felt the auditor did wrong in case something we need to look at. Is that what we're saying? You may want, perhaps the person doesn't understand what an independent audit is, but maybe it is something
Maybe
where
I'll-
Mr. Chu needs
I'll
to speak
send
to the
him some-
person and ask him.
I'll send you some textbooks to read.
No, just ask him one or two questions perhaps of what he felt was inappropriate. That's it, maybe that they can come to you and just ask what specifically, or
There are many things.
say it to the FA, or say it to the committee.
There are many things that we like to say, we like to do, just cannot do it, just say. As much as I get involved with the town since the first group of elected officials, there's something they do or they say, you have no idea why they do that. And
No, but my
you-
question-
I don't plan to get to the detail to say you are right or you are wrong. That's not my role. I wouldn't do it.
When do you know, but I guess my question based on what you're all talking about and what I heard you say, is when do you decide if you were happy or unhappy with the audit? It's just
hearing you all talk just now?
I think we're happy.
Yeah, well,
I'm
okay.
happy,
I mean, you are happy because you wanted to find an auditor.
not me.
You just said it, it's on record, you said it.
That is not what I said.
But I don't plan to teach somebody about auditing and accounting.
No, that's not what I'm asking, no, what I'm asking, I guess what I'm asking is very simple, not a big elaborate question. What I'm asking, just listening to you all talk, if somebody makes a comment about our auditor that we are happy with,
Somebody needs to rectify it.
what is the yeah, that's my question. Somebody makes a comment about our auditor that we are happy with. What is the process to deal with that? I mean,
How
yeah.
do you clear that air?
The auditor, they made a comment about the town.
It was about the town
No.
management.
Influencing
It's
the
about
auditor.
the auditor because the auditor is the one that took management's position, and that is not their job.
See, that's why it's on the
We
auditor.
we can go after them all day long. Their job is to ignore what we say.
Right.
Well,
Look at the objective
not
facts.
necessarily ignore accept, it depends on the substance, depends on whether it's right or wrong. In the auditor's opinion, the auditor has to make their own judgment. So we hire we don't shop for opinion, we don't do that.
No,
We don't like
and
this auditor, we find somebody else to give it a good opinion, we don't do that.
we can present things to the auditor, raise questions. Mark has to fill out a 6-7 page questionnaire along with the mayor with every kind of question imaginable, giving them information before they even come in about our books. And the question is, I didn't want you to give them a class. I tried to explain the role of management, the role of the auditor. I think that it would be better if it came from somebody he felt comfortable
With.
and me explaining it, we turned, as far as he's concerned, we're the one that brought that to their attention. We should have never disclosed anything. We can bring anything to the auditor's attention, but we did not bring that to his attention.
Well, I
And,
think
and the
that-
auditor has every right to pull whatever he
I'm
wants.
not here to make a judgment whether
Me neither,
whether
but
you did or you did not, that's irrelevant.
that's,
And then if you're asking me whether I could,
I'm not asking, I was asking if you could maybe talk about auditing in general and how they perform their function
I'll
on
send
a
you
very
the-
elementary
I'll send you
level.
some text for him to read. And
It
I'm
might
not sure
help.
if I could deliver your request, I can tell you now, no.
Okay,
That's simple. And then if I get a chance to have lunch or dinner with him, if he ever bring it up, I would say, go ask Bill.
But he doesn't listen, he's already
Because
stated,
we
he stated on
trust you.
record, he
But-
does not care what I think,
But
say,
you know,
or do.
to say an auditor is appropriate, inappropriate, the statement is too simplified. You just cannot draw a statement like that. You just cannot. The firm has the peer review, they all certified, so we pay them for the opinion. So we pay it. We don't second the opinion, second guess the opinion.
I'm good with it. I'm not against, I'm just telling you that you have an issue with your council where they believe that there's something underhanded that may have occurred, that someone should clear up in the record that nothing underhanded did occur, and that you guys were fully aware of all the auditing efforts, and if there's an issue that maybe the council should instruct you on what to do next.
The council, the whole council,
Yeah,
yeah, okay,
I understand,
yeah.
but I'm just advising you that you have at least that in the sphere of public discussion.
Do you, any one of you would like to take on that lecture position?
So I think if you were unhappy with there are things you always speak up, just as you said about continuing education classes. If you were unhappy with the auditor or anything, you would be the first one to
Yeah,
catch it and
absolutely,
see
yeah.
anything inappropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be easy for you to speak to this person in 2 sentences and explain to them, this is how it works.
that perhaps they'll watch the video. But if, I don't believe you found anything inappropriate in the audit, or you would have said so.
Correct.
So perhaps we can just simply ask them to watch this. And you trust Mr. And you even just said you trust management sufficiently enough that if this person had a question, they should go to management and ask them about it, so.
Well, actually, when this is there, we hire them to do the work.
Well, we think so.
Okay.
That was my closing comment, Chair.
Okay, thank you. What about the other two things? Since you're on your comment, or reimbursement and the update on the fee.
Those are just for your information.
I do have a question, just curious. We have the couple credit card bill for breakfast. You buy donuts. I know where you joined it too. My question is, since you're meeting at dinner, why don't we have dinner?
We're not engineers.
You're not engineers.
I can go get some donuts.
It's
We
cheaper.
can order,
No,
we can
It
order.
was an
in
8-hour meeting.
It was,
Is it 8 hours?
yes.
Wasn't it your all day?
That was our selection committee for the engineers,
Oh, okay.
and we, the folks that joined me for that effort actually gave a great deal amount of time, probably in excess of more than a dozen hours,
Let's see.
including 8 that day.
They got here at 9 o'clock in the morning and they didn't wrap up
Okay,
till
I'm
5
just-
o'clock. So we brought in lunch for them, they worked through lunch, and we brought in some coffee and some donuts in the morning.
We could have at least brought in some quiche or something.
Okay, let's come to the closing topic, closing comments. Public?
No, I think, like I said, it's a good idea to have public information on how things are, or how orders are generated.
So we could do that in,
I don't know, it might take,
We'll try to compile and elucidate what is occurring.
Okay. Tom, you have any comment? Pearl? Mr. Nadeau?
I'm done.
You done? Mr. Mark?
The committee members, or are you saving that for last?
Well, I'm going to.
Oh, you're going around the horn, okay. All right, I would defer to the committee.
You would
Okay.
defer to the committee, okay, Mark. I asked Mark if he would please bring a copy. Did we reply to the May 17th letter of the Inspector General?
The town attorney is in the process of doing that now.
So we have not replied to this letter of June 17th. Okay.
I do have that information if you so desire.
What information do you have?
The information you make is
The request.
The reply?
No, the request.
the request.
The IG's request?
Yeah.
I mean, the
What's
letter?
request?
The
Oh,
letter,
I
have
have
you-
that.
the letter and the
You have that?
The supporting
the anonymous
documentation.
complaint.
Right. If
Oh,
we
somebody
could-
complained?
Yes, if we didn't have, and that was my comment, I guess, did that come in before our last FAAC meeting, and is that something, because our last meeting was May 28th, and that letter is dated, what is May 17th? So as an FAAC committee, is that something we should be aware of, that's out
Well,
there?
we weren't aware of it. The issue is, we found out today that they actually received the complaint from an anonymous source on April 26th, 2013.
I read it.
They did go ahead and generate this letter, and they indicated that they sent it to us, but we never received it. We checked with everybody in the office, nobody could find it.
Oh,
So
they don't
when
send
they
it
contacted me on June 18, they asked, where is your response? And I said, what response? And they said, well, we sent you a letter. And I said, well, we never received it. And they said, okay, so they sent the letter. And that's why we received the May 17th letter on June 18th.
Could we
So-
get a copy? It just can-
That's the letter.
It's the same issue.
So that's what we have in
It's
the
what?
complaint.
The same issue, the gas tax.
No, that's a different issue.
Is it
No.
the money tax?
How many complaints do we have?
It's just one
Just
that
the
I'm
one.
aware of.
On that one.
I just wanted to make sure we're supposed to get them when they came in. And so there is no response, so we'll get a copy of the response when it's done?
We have to have a response to them by July 2nd, is the date, the new date that they have given the town. What I'm handing you is a letter with the original email, so you can see when we first became aware of it.
You can be assured something as important as that would come to this committee as soon as we have some.
That was my first question. And then, so our response is due July,
Or seven, second or second?
Second,
Second. And that-
they graciously agreed to 2 more weeks.
The issue, I guess, will be, it's in legal's hands right now. Wait for their response.
So there's a more cost to the legal fees.
I mean, this is a question I've asked publicly, but my comment has always been we can add or subtract roads every time we submit the report. It's like our, our water lines. This just is something that,
This is the cost.
Well, every year they give you a map that you
Right,
comment on.
which we talk about at town council and we go back and forth on that. But this, so what happens? That the attorney will respond to this? And what's the next step?
That's up to Mr. Director.
Well, if he's not going to make that deadline, obviously, he needs to let me know so I can try to establish a new deadline.
How much we pay them? We pay $2,000. How much we pay the IG?
We haven't paid anything since
Last
2011.
time, that's how much we paid.
$245 a quarter is the town's
The share,
requirement,
the share.
share.
So a year about,
We pay $800, maybe $900
so a
a
year
year.
we pay them about $1,000 at the most. It costs them more to produce this.
Oh, yeah, they're losing money on license roads.
Regina, you done?
That, good meeting, it was very good on the budget.
No, I don't.
Sure.
No, good, good budget
Same.
Well, the
Good.
changes, the changes come.
Thank you for the shirt.
Yeah.
And the tote bag.
I hope it fits.
Okay,
It
if I happen to have time, when I see my appointed, I will discuss with him. And then I'll give him some textbooks to read about the auditing standard. Okay, do we have a,
How come I'm not seeing you down in Boca?
when?
Now, all week. I've been down there.
Was it GFOA?
Yeah,
No, it's not GFOA.
FGFOA. Florida.
Oh. I'm not a member.
Oh, I joined, I spent my $35
Did you? Yes, I
Oh,
did.
for the free online courses.
Okay.
So, those are really good, by the way.
That's why I figured I'd start there and then get to the official seminars.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Cheryl, the motion, and Liz, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Oh, what, our next meeting,
July 27th.
you want to say?
Sounds about right.
Do you want
If
to
you
say?
want to go on vacation, we could.
Oh, what?
Where would we move it to?
Okay.
You
You don't know what to do?
Well, there's gonna be
I'll
some
write
sort
up
of
the note.
decision.
You can sort it
Yeah, very minimal. Very minimal.
Phil,
Well, I
I
got,
just want to save on this.
Oh, forget to say, thank you for the t-shirt.
I
The
should have,
22nd is their next.
should have, anything else?
Turn that thing on.
You want?
That is good, I mean.
No, she